It's always a fun day when you get a new tool in the shop. This is a new 13-inch benchtop planer, and as you can see, the shipping carton got a little damaged, so hopefully the box it's packaged in did its job and protected it from the abuse of the shipping company. But we'll see. Let's open this puppy up. This will be a unique comparison because I'm putting this new planer, which comes with a helical cutter head already installed, up against my trusty old DeWalt 12.5 inch, which I modified with a helical head upgrade a couple of years ago. It's possible you've already seen that video on installing the helical cutter head from FindBuyTool, but if you haven't, I have that video linked on screen and in the description. FindBuyTool was nice enough to send me their new 13-inch benchtop planer with a helical cutter head, as I mentioned, and carbide inserts. Now, if you already own the DeWalt DW734 or 733 if you're outside the US, you can do the modification yourself for less than a new planer. And let me tell you, that's a fun little Saturday afternoon project if you really enjoy cussing at machinery. Watch my install video first though. It'll lead you step by step through the process. In that video as well, I discuss the pros and cons of a helical cutter head versus the straight knives that come with the DeWalt. So I won't take the time to go over that again in this one. I think they sent me some extra carbide cutters. That was nice. I was trying not to do that. Comes mostly assembled. In the box is the dust chute adapter. Here's a better look at what comes in that box. The instruction manual or owner's guide, a set of 10 carbide inserts. Oh, nope, sorry, not 10, 5. They also sent me an extra 10 outside of the box. I think that was just because they like me. 2 wrenches to put the carbide inserts in. There's 5 extra screws for these 5 extra carbide inserts if a screw happens to break. And then hardware to install the crank, and then the dust chute with a 4-inch opening, and then a 2.5-inch adapter. Just one little note, it's got a pre-drilled hole and a pre-installed little screw to hold that in place if you need the adapter. Now we'll take a look at the machine itself. This is the 13-inch helical cutter head thickness planer, 120 volt, 15 amp, maximum thickness 6 inches, max cutting width is 13 inches. Up in front here there's a thickness gauge that shows how much you're going to be removing. If you register your workpiece on this, there's a little button or a little knob here. So as you push your material in, it'll tell you how much you're going to be cutting off. Over here is the material thickness guide in both inches and millimeters. I like that it's a clear indicator. My DeWalt has an opaque one, so you can't see the hashes or the numbers below it, only above it. So I like that this is clear, and it's adjustable with these little screws. This is a reset button, so if it gets too hot or you're pushing stuff too fast, this will pop out and stop the machine to protect it from overheating. The on-off switch has one of those lockout dealies. You can see the mirror finish on this bottom plate. You can actually see the cutter head. I'm going to go to this other side so you can see the cutters are arranged in a helical pattern. And let's see how these infeed and outfeed tables are lined up. I'm going to take a straight edge, carefully put it in there. The straight edge is sitting flat on the bottom plate, and the wings at the sides of the machine are just slightly below that bottom plate. And you actually want these outside edges to be slightly higher than the bottom plate to prevent snipe. It's not quite meeting the straight edge. Well, it is on the outfeed, but not on the infeed. So I'm going to make a minor adjustment to the adjustment screws that are underneath. And here's how we do that. Under here we have two adjusting screws. There's a jam nut on the bottom and then a bolt head. So I'm just going to take an adjustable wrench and tighten that up on the bottom one, and then a 10mm wrench, and just back it out like a quarter turn. And then so counterclockwise or anti-clockwise, and that'll raise it a little bit. It's kind of tricky. And we'll do that to both sides. Let's see if that was enough. Yeah, now it's meeting, and it's slightly above the bottom plate now. And it looks good on the Outfeed side, so that's all we need to do for that. And before I put any of the attachments on, I'm going to go ahead and spray the bottom plate with some WD-40 dry lube, just so everything slides nice. I'll give that a few seconds, and then I'll wipe it down. Now I'll just use the included hardware to put the raise and lower handle on. There's a flat side on one of it, just match that up. Flat washer, lock washer, and a machine screw. And of course a screwdriver. I had the wrong size washers. Those other ones are for the dust chute. Now we're on the back side of the machine, and before I put the dust chute on, I'm going to take this cutter head cover off. That gives you a better look at the cutter head itself. As I said, it came pre-installed with all the carbide inserts. There's 4 rows of 10 cutters. So we'll put that back on. There's 2 little tabs that the dust chute goes onto on the top, and there's 2 holes on the bottom that the screws will go into right here. As I said earlier, you can either connect a 2 1/4 inch or a 4-inch dust hose. Alright, let's fire this bad boy up. Yep, it's loud. Okay, initial impressions. First of all, the cut quality is fantastic. I mean, this is super smooth, and as you can see, we've got, you know, different grain direction. We got the cathedral coming here, it closes down, opens back up, closes down again, opens back up, and there's some funky stuff on the end there, and it's really nice and smooth. Wonder if you can see. I don't really see any of the lines that sometimes you can see. Oh, a little bit on the far end there. Yeah, you can sort of see the cutter head path down here, but it's not, you can't feel it, you can just see it. I knew with the helical cutter head and the carbide cutters that it was going to end up nice and smooth right out of the machine. This is a 7-foot board, so having the material support on my adjustable sawhorse was quite helpful. But even with that, I got a little bit of actually quite a bit of snipe down here, but it's extra long, so I'm going to just cut that off. And that's not the machine's fault, it was just because it got heavy out at the end of the cut. Also, dust collection. I didn't have high hopes for this because this thing is not very strong, and it's got all this corrugated tubing, and it's going through a dust separator, so it just loses a lot of power through all that to get to the machine. But off the backside, you know, it's not terrible. On my DeWalt, which lives there, I can't use the dust chute because it only goes that direction. So if I had it on here, I just can't fit it on, so I don't use it, and the chips fly everywhere and I get a big pile of sawdust right there. So I'm not even really accustomed to using dust collection with the planer, but off the back side it's not too bad. Off the front side it kicked back quite a bit, but I think that's just the nature of the beast. One thing I don't love about this is the carriage lock. You push it in to release it, and then there's 4 rubber pads that engage with each of the 4 posts, and it's a friction fit, but it doesn't like click into place. You don't have like a real positive feedback that you're fully engaged. It's a little clunky. Maybe it'll take a little getting used to because it's new to me. Like I said, I like the clear view indicator, and I didn't mention the depth stop here. It's got detents at, you can't see it very well because it's just kind of etched in there. 1/4, 1/2, 3/4, and 1 inch. And so you just loosen this knob, and there's a stop bolt there that's adjustable with a nut below it, and you can slide that down. I'm already below 1 inch, so 1 inch wouldn't work, but I could set this at 3/4 and lock that in, and then it would stop when it gets to the 3/4. So now I need to pull out my DeWalt and unbolt it from its housing because 7 feet wouldn't fit through from one end to the wall. That's only 69.5 inches. So to do a true side-by-side comparison, I gotta pull it out of there. Before we get into the nitty-gritty on the DeWalt, take a close look at these inserts from FindBuyTool. They're Carbide, of course, but what's different from the other Carbide inserts is that they've got this slight radius on the edges. Can you see that? That's supposed to help with the shearing action. And the corners are rounded too, instead of sharp 90. I think that's so they don't dig in and tear out fibers. Compare that to the Carbide inserts that came with the cutter head that was installed in my DeWalt a couple of years ago. The obvious difference is that those are smaller because there's 56 inserts instead of 40, and it's a little hard to see on camera, but the edges on these are straight and the corners are sharp 90 degrees. But with the new planer, they sent me an extra box of these Carbide inserts that have the radius on them. They sell these curved Carbide cutters on their website. I'll leave a link down below if you want to snag some of these next-gen Carbide cutters for your machine. Okay, back to the DeWalt 12.5 inch planer. Okay, I'm going to take the cutter head cover off to show you. This is also a helical cutter head from FindBuyTool, but it's got 56 inserts instead of 40. 4 rows of 14. Each of these cutters has 4 sharp edges, and they're numbered, and I just realized just now that I installed them all with the 2 side. Why did I do that? Well, okay. So I'm going to go back to the 1 side, just loosen it a couple of turns, and then rotate the cutter just 1/4 of a turn, and it's indexed so it'll go right back where it needs to when you tighten it down. So you don't need to remove the screw, just loosen it. And then do that to all 56 of them. Just in case you're new to planing with a thickness planer, this is the correct way to feed the wood through the planer based on the grain pattern, because these layers, these kind of peaks here, are layered on top of each other, and if it were sent through the other way, the planer would lift the ends of these and tear out. When you send it through this way, the blade's spinning this way and it'll lay it down instead of lifting it up. But just to prove a point, I'm going to flip this around because I know that the helical cutter head can handle it in either direction and won't tear it out. No tear out. Nice and smooth. Actually, in the middle here, I can feel some ridges. I don't know if it was doing that before. Well, I don't like that. Well, I'm convinced. This is now my new everyday planer. It just gives a better result. The DeWalt was leaving little grooves and ridges, which I really didn't notice before. So I don't know if it's just happening today. I kind of doubt it. And it was happening before and after I rotated the cutters. Meanwhile, even with 40 cutters versus 56, this one just does a better job. It's smoother. It is louder. The DeWalt DW734 is actually quieter than this, but that's not a deal breaker. This is 13 inches versus the 12 and a half. Not sure how much that's gonna make a difference, but it's bigger. I still don't love the carriage lock mechanism. The DeWalt snaps into place. I like that better, but it's something I'll just get used to. So thank you FindBuyTool for sending me this planer. Really appreciate it. So if you're looking into getting a benchtop planer, this one already comes with the helical head, and apples to apples and price point especially, and not having to deal with retrofitting a straight knife planer, I think this one's hard to beat. And that's my honest opinion. She's a keeper. I want to try something. I've never had two planers in my shop before. I don't know if I got room for this. I don't know if this was such a great idea. I don't recommend it.